Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Young, Wild, and Adulting podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Estep, also known as the Virtual RA. Maybe you found me on TikTok or Instagram at my Virtual RA handle. Maybe you found me scrolling through YouTube videos or Spotify podcasts. Wherever you are coming from, hello and welcome to the community. A little bit of background about me. I graduated from James Madison University back in May of 2023, and I have a degree in intelligence analysis with a minor in entrepreneurship. Following my graduation, I pretty much sat down and took a realistic view of what my future had looked like ahead of me, and at the time the job market was not doing anybody any favors. Specifically, the niche topic area that I earned a degree in was very complex, and it was very complicated to find a job in said job market. And so I sat with myself and I looked at my strengths, my weaknesses, what I wanted my overall future to look like, where I was sitting now, and how I could take action with the resources that I had available to me. And one of the biggest things I think in my personality and how I see myself in general is I very highly value that I am an older sister. I've gone through so many different aspects and areas of my life where I was a big sister to other people, where I was always finding myself in positions that were always leadership based and or giving advice to other people. I very quickly realized that not only was it a strength of mine, but it was a huge passion of mine. So following that realization in July of 2023, I founded my own private consulting company for college students, and since then I've just been working one-on-one with college students or young adults alike on providing all different tips on adulting backgrounds, financial literacy, teaching you the hacks of college that college may not teach you, adulting hacks that school won't teach you, whether that's high school, whether that's college. Wherever you are coming from, the world is not always very open to us, or it kind of lets us play it out and figure out things on our own, or there are certain aspects of adulthood that we aren't told about in young adulthood when we're entering our, when we become 18 and then when we graduate college and we're in our post-grad lives, and nobody really tells us the ins and outs of how to accomplish certain things in life or basic necessities that we should have known. Or maybe some high schools teach it, maybe some high schools don't, maybe some colleges teach it, maybe some colleges don't. Regardless, I found a huge, valuable opportunity coming out of college that there was not a lot of students and young adults that knew either how to do these certain things in their life, or they didn't have a big sister or a family or a mentor to guide them through these things. And so I kind of wanted to create a community, as you guys are sitting here watching this now, where it was going to be kind of like late night FaceTime calls with an older sister. And yeah, we're just going to go through all of the trials and tribulations of young adulthood and figure this shit out together. And I will do the best that I can to offer you the advice that I have with the experience that I have. I am the eldest sister, and I am also the eldest daughter of two. So being a big sister is a huge part of my personality. I value it a lot. I value the knowledge and the information that I have gained and the experience that I have gained throughout my life. But I also value being able to rely that information onto others who may not have been able to grow up to have a big sister or an older brother or some kind of mentor to be able to guide them through certain processes, because I know that if there are any other older sisters out there or older brothers, whoever you may be, that know exactly where I am sitting in my position, we were the guinea pigs of the group. Here's a perspective shift for you. We were raised by people who have never had kids. And I know that sounds obvious, but really let that sink in. It's like buying a piece of IKEA furniture without the instruction manual. We were the guinea pigs of the group, so nobody was there to give me this kind of information growing up. So I thought that I would share the wealth and share the knowledge and bestow the information and the college experiences, life experiences that I went through, and hope sharing this information with you all can at least help somebody. As you can tell by the title of this video, I'm a strong advocate that self-awareness is your greatest superpower, and if you give me probably an hour of your time, I will go through and explain why everything in this world, everything that you will experience in life is connected to your self-awareness, your situational awareness, and your awareness of where in the grand scheme of life you play a role. I will start by saying that I was not always this way. This was not something that was always in the frontal lobe of my brain. Within the last year, I would say that I've had my growth journey, if you will. I've had my situational awareness. I've had my spatial awareness. I've had all different kinds of experiences to put me through the thought process that has helped me get to where I am today. It's a very long road to go down. It's a very spirally road to go down, but I promise you, once you start to go down it, it genuinely becomes addicting. And you will learn so much about yourself, so much about where you come from, where you want to go. And once you realize all of those things, oh my gosh, you are going to be shocked at the person you are going to become. The very first thing that I want to start on, or at least hit on, is laying the foundation for everything I'm going to cover in this video. So strap in, buckle up. I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers, but I promise you it will help you in the long run. Healing your inner voice and healing your inner child is the number one step you need to take in the entire self-realization and self-awareness journey. And the reason behind that is everything in your childhood, everything how you were raised, everything in how your mind thinks, your personality traits, how you study, your environments that you enjoy, environments you don't enjoy, where you find comfort, where you find discomfort, how you act, what your patterns are, where your emotions come from, where your triggers come from, all of that stems into being solved with shadow work. And for those of you that are in therapy, you probably are already doing your homework with your therapist. That is probably your shadow work prompts. I should have warned you this was going to start off as a really deep episode, and if I didn't, I apologize. I'm telling you now. But I promise it will tie in the end. It will all make sense, and you will feel 100% better walking away from this episode. The reason shadow work is so important and is the laying of the groundwork for this entire episode is we find and we have to heal the parts of ourselves that we constantly avoid and suppress. So our emotions, our insecurities, our patterns. Once we find where all of those stem from, and once we start to heal and break down everything, where they come from, how they're affecting us in our day-to-day lives now, no matter how old you are, once you start to heal all of those pieces of you that you didn't know you had or didn't know that you were suppressing, everything else starts to make sense. And when you realize that, it's like one giant puzzle piece coming together. It's like one of those 1,000-piece puzzles, and it's the feeling of putting in that last piece, and it's like a light bulb goes off. Everything else starts to make sense. It ties into everything we do without even realizing it. And yes, I'm saying this to even if you're a college student or another young adult and you're watching this now, it ties into everything. It ties into and attaches to your study habits, how you study. It attaches itself to what type of learner you are. It attaches itself to your environments. So you recognize your study environments and what is comfortable for you, what is uncomfortable for you. It attaches itself to your personality styles and your personality traits as it attaches to your patterns. Once you realize all of this, everything else gets easier, and that's the whole point of me making this video, especially right now, right before finals. Starting off strong, I would love to go over personality traits, personality styles, and helping you realize what type you are and where you fall on the spectrum if you have not taken the test yet. If you have not already, I highly recommend taking the DISC profile test, and that is D-I-S-C, not D-I-S-K. The DISC profile test pretty much shows you where you fall in the realm of what type of person you're going to be, how you react to others, how others react to you, how others perceive you, and then it gives recommendations for what hobbies you enjoy, what careers you should pursue, all of those. But before we dive into all of that, it will help you realize what type of personality trait you are and what kind of person you are. So let's start there. You have D-I-S-C. Your D is your dominant. That's your eagle. That's your leader. That's the very assertive person in the friend group. That's the go-getter. That's I need things done at this time. They're not really detail-oriented people, but they're usually going to be your police officers, your CEOs, your entrepreneurs. Then you have I. I is your influence person. They're your me, 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 me. In a bird, you can picture them like a parrot. They're very social. They're very talkative. They're very charming. They're outgoing. They're a people's person. So these people you're going to find in sales. You're going to find them as writers or authors. You're going to find them as marketing managers, content creators, actors, everything encompassing anything creative. Then you have your S. Your S stands for steadiness. So these people are going to be gentle. They're going to be very loyal. They're going to be very dependable. So these people for jobs are usually going to be your nurses, your school counselors, your therapists, your HR reps. Then you have your C, which stands for conscientiousness. These are going to be your skeptics. They're going to be your data analysts. They're going to be very detail oriented. They're private, they're analytical, and they're cautious. So for jobs, these are people that are going to be software engineers. They're going to be economists. They're going to be scientists, or they can be investment bankers. When you take the time to learn your strengths and weaknesses, it will greatly affect how your daily routine goes. It will greatly affect how you respond to others, how you connect with others, but also how you delegate your tasks and how you perform as a person, as a student, as a friend, as a family member, as a loved one, all of the above. So for my college students that are watching, once you understand where you sit on the DISC profile standard, once the standard test, and let's say, for example, you have a group project coming up. Everybody always has that awkward situation where your teacher takes a couple of seconds to tell you what the class project is going to entail, and then all of a sudden you find yourself having to put yourself in a group team. Or maybe you're randomly assigned a group team. Once you're in said group team and you're all discussing what kind of group project you're going to do, or maybe what topic area you're going to cover, there's always that couple of awkward moments where everyone's deciding who's going to play what role. Now, going off of this, if you understand where you fall, you understand your strengths, your weaknesses, you understand where in the DISC profile portion you lie, you will be able to not only figure out where you should stand and what role you should play in the group project, but you can probably be really good or get really good if you practice on what type of personality traits everyone else has or where they lie in the DISC profile test, and then what kind of role they should play in the group project as well. So if you were a D or a DI, I didn't go over this. Okay, sidebar. I forgot to mention that in the 4 quadrants of the DISC profile test, D's and I's pair together and S and C's pair together. So you can usually be a DI or an ID as a one personality type as one person if you take the test, or you can be an SC or a CS. It's rare, but it is also possible for you to be, a DS, probably not a DC, but a DS or an IC or a CI. Again, very rare, but it is possible. So when you get your results, take that into consideration because, again, we're very complex. The human mind and the human brain is very complex. Take the time to learn it. I promise you, it's extremely interesting once you dive into the world. Anyway, back on track. So if you were a DI or an ID, you probably want to ask yourself, do you want to be the project lead or do you want to be the creative director? Are you very good at delegating tasks? Are you very good at leading people? Are you good at understanding other people's strengths and weaknesses so that you can see how other people should play out and what roles they should play or participate in? Are you a very detail-oriented person? Do you love your Excel sheets? Do you love making lists? Do you love planning? Maybe you're the person that's sitting there that's delegating. Maybe you're the person that's sitting there doing all of the data analytical work. Are you the group's main point of contact? Are you a good HR person? Do you collectively do a good job at bringing people together or solving group problems if there's a group conflict? Let's all agree that we all hate doing things that we don't want to do or didn't already volunteer ourselves for. So when you understand, I'm tying this all in again, when you understand your personality traits in those 4 quadrants, you understand what role you want to play in society, because this example of a group project goes much larger than just college. When you understand what role you would rather play and what role you're really good at, use it, hold on to it, hone in your skills, and constantly work to be better, but also gain the spatial awareness around you to start understanding other people's strengths and weaknesses, because that will make you invincible. Now moving on to section 2, learning how to study and your environments and all of those encompasses also with what type of learner you are. Once you realize what type of learner you are and how you study and how you retain information, that will then put you in a trajectory to understand all of the rest of everything that comes with studying and retaining information and homework and how you take exams or the anxiety behind taking exams. But we'll start small first. You have to ask yourself if you are a visual learner, a kinesthetic learner, or a photographic memory learner. A visual learner is usually somebody that memorizes things based off of photos or real-world examples. A photographic memory is somebody that, I've had plenty of friends that are like this or dated people like this, and I'm extremely, extremely jealous of them. They're probably just God's favorite. But they're the people that can sit there and read the textbook maybe once or twice, and their photographic memory understands the words and can imagine an example or a scenario in their head, and then they just run with it, and they can just remember it based off of that. My mother is one of those people, for example. My mom the woman can recite Hamlet or Shakespeare like she learned it yesterday, and she probably went to college 25, if not 30 years ago. And the woman can just remember it and recite it at the dinner table like it's nothing. She didn't have to perform it in a play. She didn't have to sing it to a choir. She literally just read it and probably recited it maybe once for a public speaking situation in high school or college, and she can remember it and recite it. I'll never understand. For those of you that don't know what a kinesthetic learner is, or maybe don't have a perfect example of it, I'll give you a good one now. I didn't know that I was a kinesthetic learner until I was a senior in high school when I took my honors anatomy course with my lovely teacher, Miss Paholski. Miss Paholski, if you ever find this and you ever watch this, I love you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you showed me my learning style when I didn't even know that that was an example of one. And I have valued it, and I have used that style and that technique of learning ever since you showed it to me. Now, going back to you all. When I was in said anatomy class my senior year of high school, we broke down, or at least my teacher, Miss Bolsky, broke down our learning path for each chapter of what we were learning into different segments. So for our honors anatomy course, we were not cutting up a cadaver, we were cutting up a fetal pig. So on Sundays and Mondays, we were tasked with reading, and then we would come in, I'm pretty sure Sunday night was the reading night, and then Monday we would come in and do class discussion, and we would do a pop quiz with what was based off of the readings or the vocabulary that we were going over in the book. Then we would go over a class discussion on Tuesday, where our teacher, our professor, would make sure we understand all of the topic areas, everything we were going to cover. If anything was confusing, we would go over it. It was basically class discussion day. Wednesdays, one of my favorite days, we had a coloring packet. And for those of you, before you say anything, you're gonna be like, Morgan, that's childish. I don't care, okay? It was fun. Call me a kindergartner, but we had senioritis, okay? I enjoyed a little coloring packet every now and then. Regardless, I digress. We had a coloring packet on Wednesdays where she would break down sheets, multiple sheets, I think. It was usually a packet based off of what part of that pig we were going to dissect during that week. So if it was the intestines, if it was the liver, if it was the lungs, if it was the heart, whatever we were dissecting that week, that was the picture that we were going to have to color code in our packet. Again, disc profile test. If you're a detailed person, you probably aren't going to love this, because this has nothing to do in your brain. This has nothing to do with the overall outcome of what you want to achieve. For those of you that are your eyes and you like your creative side and your creative brain, this is very fun for you, but you probably didn't love the reading that came before it. So like I said, we would finish the coloring packets on Wednesday. Thursdays, I'm pretty sure, was her either dissecting the pig first, or we were watching a video of somebody else dissect it, and then Friday was us doing it. That entire week, my teacher had realized and recognized everybody's learning style. So she had valued those that enjoyed the reading. We all did it. We all participated in all parts of the learning process, but for those that enjoyed the reading process or had a photographic memory, that was covered. For those that are visual learners and liked watching a video of somebody else dissect the pig before they did it, my visual learners got to see that. For my kinesthetic people like me, who got to do the hands-on part of color coding and actually dissecting the pig and literally getting their hands in there, every single part of every single way you could learn or enjoy the educational process she covered. I will always thank her for that, because the realization that hit me when I understood the breakdown of the different types of learners, I saw life differently after that day. So once again, thank you, Miss Bolsky. So maybe try some things out. That was just an overall example. Try different types of learning styles. Maybe you already understand. Maybe you enjoy watching videos. For me, again, like I said, I'm half visual, half kinesthetic, right? So when I was going through school, math, science really never connected with me. I didn't do very well in it until I saw Khan Academy videos that was full walkthroughs. Khan Academy literally got me through high school and taking physics in college, because it helped break down everything and made everything make sense for me. For those of you that enjoy reading textbooks and you do very well in it and you have a very photographic memory and you do your Quizlets, you do your flashcards, I really wish I was one of you. Genuinely. It probably would make my life a lot easier, but if you're good at it, hold on to it, hone in on it, value it, and keep growing on it. Now moving on to my third or fourth section, 3 or 4, can't remember, but this one might ruffle some feathers. I'm going to hold your hand while I say all of these. This is going to be hard to hear, and this is going to be a whirlwind, so grab a journal, sit down, write this out. I promise you it will make a lot more sense to you, because I had my aha moment already when my frontal lobe freaking developed when I learned this for myself. It's time to ask yourselves the questions that are hard and difficult, but it will ultimately make you a better student and a better person, a better learner, progressor, grower in the grand scheme of life. Do you work better under pressure? Do you work better when you have broken down all of your tasks into different timelines throughout different weeks or months ahead of the deadline that you were given? Do you work better in a chaotic environment? Do you work better in a quiet environment? I promise you, all of those are related to your childhood. Like I said, you're going to want to pull out a journal because this is going to get very real very quickly. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this because this was very hard for me to realize when I was going through it. So we'll go through this together. If you grew up in a childhood or a childhood home that was extremely chaotic all the time, whether that meant that there was fighting going on, whether that meant you grew up with multiple siblings and you had a lot of noise in your house at a time, whether it was babies crying, whatever the case. There are two things that can come out of that. You can either find comfort in the chaos, like I do, or you could want nothing but quiet because of the chaos. Understanding that will help you understand your study tactics and your study spots. So I got very used to having a very chaotic environment. I grew up around race cars, so I probably have really bad hearing now, so if I'm screaming into this mic, I apologize, but I digress. If I didn't grow up in those very loud environments, I probably would be different than I am today, but because I did, I value and enjoy working in very loud or chaotic environments. So when I was studying on campus in college, I had to find the busiest library because even though I put my headphones in and was listening to some probably lo-fi beats or classical music, whatever I was listening to for studying or writing my paper or whatever the case, having that background noise of a busy library, a coffee shop, sitting outside at a park, I had to have some kind of background noise to keep me focused. I really wish I was a psychologist and I could break down the reasons for you of why that made sense to me or why it was comfortable for me to hear, but I can't. All I can tell you is that it works for me. If you were like me and grew up in a chaotic environment and don't like it, don't want to associate with it, you probably value the quiet times now. Or if you grew up in a quiet environment at home and you value the quiet environment now, vice versa. You probably are the person that enjoys picking out the quiet rooms or renting out the quiet rooms at libraries, or you enjoy working from home at a kitchen table in your bedroom, whatever the case. You probably don't like music in the background. If your roommate is all of a sudden vacuuming in the next door over from, or the next room over from you, it probably irritates you. It probably ticks you off, and that's okay. But you have to recognize it and then recognize that other people have different type of study tactics and different type of study environments that are comfortable for them versus non-comfortable for them or uncomfortable for them. It's a very small step in the grand scheme of things, but when you realize those, you can get better at choosing your study habits and your study spots. So once you realize that, maybe if you were working in a quiet environment but you enjoy a chaotic environment, maybe switch and try both. If you were in a really busy environment and you find yourself finding it difficult to focus, maybe switch to a quiet environment. Like I said, I'm going to come for your throats. If you are someone that thought you could work with background noise and you're one of those people that puts on a comfort TV show in the background or a comfort movie in the background and you thought that you could focus, but you find yourself watching the TV more than you are doing the actual work, it's probably time to shut off that TV. I'm sorry. I love you. I used to be the same way, but I found that going to a busy environment and hearing the chaotic noise, but not having anything to distract my focus like a TV or movie or show or whatever the case, I was able to do my work simultaneously with music and the background noise much easier than I would with a movie or show on in the background. Another thing that is really good to think about and has a bunch of different studies behind it is when you don't feel your best, you are not going to study the best, you are not going to perform your best on the test, you are not going to retain the information best. There are plenty of tactics out there like chewing cinnamon gum or the doodle trick to keep you memorizing things, but also it comes down to how you feel and how your body feels. I find myself, for example, if I dress in raggedy clothes or I am wearing old clothes, for example, that haven't been washed in a couple of days or an old sweat set, or for my girls out there, it's a couple of days past hair wash day, and your bun, or you have your hair up in a slick back bun and it's out of your face, which is great. Don't have distractions, but I will get to that later. If you don't feel your best and you don't look your best, you may not study the best. And this doesn't go for everybody. If it resonates with you, take it. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave it. But for some of you, like me, if you don't feel your best, you won't do your best, you won't perform your best. So when I study, I like to get, I won't say dressed up, but when I used to study, I would not wear like raggedy, super comfy clothes. I would try to wear work jeans I'm not saying get dressed up in a suit and tie, although by all means, if you would like to, try it, see if it works for you. But I would put on a nice outfit, and when I felt better, I felt like I was presentable. I felt if I had to go walk up in front of a classroom and give a presentation in that moment, I could, because I was dressed for the part, which means my brain internally was in work mode. I highly recommend trying it because the whole Dress for Success campaign, I understand it because it works for me. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, great. Again, you have to try out different things to find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. In fact, sidebar, this has nothing to do with personality traits. This has nothing to do with personality types, studying, etc. Something else that I would really love to point out is my generation, I'm a Gen Z, I'm 24, and Gen Alpha, so the generation younger than me, there is a huge addiction attached with screens, right? My laptop here and my phone that I'm recording this on. The overwhelming amount of addiction and inability to detach from something like that scares me. You have to have the self-awareness to understand, one, if you're addicted to your phone, and two, how far that addiction goes. The easiest example I can give you to detach from things like that is when you're sitting down and you're eating. Try not to be on your phone. I know, crazy concept. Try to just sit there in your solitude and just learn something about yourself, or take the time to just sit with yourself in silence. I know some of you feel like you can't do that, and you're going to say, Morgan, why? But it's so fun to sit there and scroll on TikTok, and it's my only free time during the day. It's my downtime. Why does downtime have to include your phone? You mean to tell me that your only dopamine hit throughout the day is going and scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or a YouTube video? Where else are you getting your dopamine hits from in a healthy way? What are you learning? What value are you adding by sitting there and just doom scrolling? I used to do the same thing. I can't say anything different, but it took me one day to realize that I was wolfing down my food so fast, and I was doing it subconsciously while I can't remember if I was watching a YouTube video, if I was doom scrolling, but I had almost choked on my food, and I was sitting there by myself in my house like I am now. And the small moment came into my brain of, well, if I can't position myself over this chair fast enough, or there's nobody around to help me if I fail. I was so unaware of my surroundings and my own esophagus, my own chewing, my own habits, how fast I was eating subconsciously because I was so engrossed in whatever was happening on my phone. It terrified me, and I never did it again. Now I either sit in silence and solitude, I read, or on the few occasions I listen to music. But now, especially because the winter uglies are coming and I do not want to go down into the rabbit hole that is seasonal depression and all that, because we all know it's very real, I will crack my window open and I will simply just listen to the birds outside. I highly recommend the next time you're having a meal to sit in solitude and not doom scroll on your phone, to see if you can start the detachment from the addiction from your phone. But especially if you are sitting with somebody, especially if it's a significant other or a family member, or, a grandparent or great grandparent that may not be around for much longer, take the time to talk to them. You're sitting there face to face with somebody. Why would you sit there on your phone instead of just taking the time to talk to them? We as a society are so connected to these things and have no situational and spatial awareness anymore, or self-awareness anymore, to realize that we're doing these things. We just do it subconsciously now. And I really hope that we can break that habit as a society. So I'm telling you this now that hopefully maybe it will resonate with one of you to stop being so attached to your phone, because we all need to get a part from it. But back to the rest of the podcast. Another huge part of spatial awareness, situational awareness, and self-awareness comes down to your love languages and your emotions. When you understand everything that I've already talked about, you've done your shadow work, you understand your childhood traumas, you understand your triggers, you understand your patterns, your suppressed emotions, your insecurities. When you start to heal all of those, everything else starts to make sense. So your attachment styles will start to make sense, and your love languages will start to make sense. It makes a lot of sense when you understand that your emotions and patterns and love languages and your attachment styles comes from how you were treated as a child. When you understand the role that you play and which of those you fall under, whether it's all of them, whether it's a few of them, and you understand the role that you play in the relationship, being so self-aware can keep you from lashing out or doing certain things in a relationship that you shouldn't do to self-sabotage it, because I know that plenty of us have done that. When it comes to attachment styles, are you secure? Are you anxious? Are you attached? Or are you disorganized? When it comes to love languages, do you have the love language of physical touch? Do you have quality time? Do you have acts of service? Do you have words of affirmation? When you take the time to realize and hone in on the strengths and weaknesses, like we've already discussed, and the personality styles, and how you study, where you study, and the environments that you feel comfortable in, the environments you feel discomfortable in, the more you gain awareness to what's around you, the role you play in your own life, the role you play in someone else's life, the role you play in the greater society, not only will life get easier for you, but everything will start to make more sense, and more opportunities will put themselves in the path for you to help you to your greater success. I didn't believe it until I started going through it. I didn't believe it until I took the time to do the shadow work and go through this entire process and go through this entire journey this year. This entire learning process for me has been my entire 2024 of my healing journey, my self-awareness, my situational awareness. And not only have I learned so much, but talking with my friends and talking with my family about it has helped them become so self-aware and understand where they come from, what roles they play in everything. And it creates for great intellectual conversation, but it has also salvaged a lot of the relationships that I thought that I had lost. So if you can take away anything from this episode, I hope that it's obviously the road to the self-healing journey and healing your inner child and your inner voice is a very long, hard road to go down. But when you start the path and you promise yourself to continue it and learn from it and grow from it, life gets easier. It gets lighter. You're not holding all this weight. You're not holding all these burdens. You're not finding yourself full of anxiety of if you're not going to test well or if you're not going to study well, because you've taken the time to learn all these things about yourself. You've taken the time to learn and master your own brain, because it doesn't matter how someone else studies. It doesn't matter if, someone else got an A on the paper, because their learning style could be different than you. It doesn't matter if somebody else did better on the presentation, because their learning style is different than you. It doesn't matter if so-and-so got a boyfriend or a girlfriend sooner than you, because they probably are jumping into things when they didn't need to, or they understand their love languages and their attachment styles and the other person does as well, or maybe neither of them do. My whole point is everybody is on a different path. Everybody's in a different part of their life, in their healing journey, in their growth journey, in their career. There is so much life ahead of us. When you take the time to learn, to grow, and work on yourself, especially now at the young age and the ripe age that we are in our, whether you're starting college and you're a freshman and you're 18 or 19, maybe some of you are 17, or you're a post-grad like me, 24, or maybe you're older and you're watching this and you're 40, 50, 60. When you take the time to learn your own self-awareness, everything else just starts to fall in place, because you've become the master of your own life. You have filled all of the nooks and crannies. You are putting the final puzzle pieces together. And then everything else that falls after that, everything else in your future, you're building off of everything that is already on a very strong foundation. There are no weak bones. You will find your person easier because you've done the work to understand where you come from and what you need. It's like that analogy. It's like that pizza analogy where if you already have a fully stocked fridge and somebody shows up at your door with a pizza and they offer you the pizza, you're less inclined to take it because you already have a full fridge. Whereas if you have an empty fridge and you're starving and somebody comes to your door and offers you a full piece of pizza, you're going to take it because you have no food in the house. But if you take the time to work on yourself and fill your own cup, love yourself, validate yourself, and stop looking for it in others, you don't need somebody else to validate anything for you anymore. You're doing it all on your own. You're earning all of the love and the work and the effort, and you're validating yourself and telling yourself that you're worthy of it and that you're worthy of the love, you're worthy of the success. If you're still in school, you're worthy of the A. You're worthy of that grade on that final and the grade on that paper. You're worthy of getting into nursing school. You're worthy of going for your master's or your PhD. Everything ties into it. Fill your own cup. But it all starts with situational awareness, spatial awareness, and self-awareness. Wow, that got really deep really quickly. I'm very sorry about that. But this is just the beginning. I hope one of you learned something. I hope that one of you maybe pulled out a journal and jotted down all of these different ideas, and that you can share this with a friend or with a family member and create beautiful intellectual conversation, but also start working on yourself, because once you fill your own cup and realize that the only validation you need is from yourself, and when you realize, understand, do the work, and complete the shadow work and heal your inner voice, heal your inner child, everything else falls in place and you become the best version of yourself that you can be. I have a lot more planned. I'm sorry that was a long episode. I hope that you stuck through this. If any of you stuck through this all the way until the end, I love you. Thank you for supporting. You know what? If you're listening to this on Spotify, hit that download button. If you're watching this on YouTube and you made it all the way to the end, let's comment a purple heart. Let's comment a purple heart. And I will be able to see which one of you listened all the way this far and which one of you didn't. Also, let me know what you would like to hear from me, what other little tips and fun little snippets of adulting, safety, adulthood, college hacks, things they don't tell you in college, things that they don't prepare you for outside of college, post-grad, whatever the case. Again, I love talking about security. I love talking about safety. I have an intelligence analysis degree. If you are unfamiliar with that term, it's basically, in a sense, a glorified Homeland Security degree mixed with journalism, mixed with research. I hope that this was another lovely FaceTime call with a big sister. If you already have a big sister, that's fine. If you don't, I will be your big sister for as many times as you need. I will hold your hand and help fill your cup and validate you and teach you things that I would teach my younger sister. And follow me on all of my socials at The Virtual RA. Personal Instagram is Morgan Estep. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Do your shadow work. I love you all. You are worthy. You are valuable of everything that life has to offer you. I will see you in the next episode. All right. Love you guys.